Welcome everyone to News About Geology. Now, if you're a geologist, or really anyone who loves the earth sciences, you know that finding a deposit, well, that's just step one. Today, we're going to dig into the financial bedrock of our industry and look at how some really cool new tech is changing the game for getting a project funded.
All right, here's what we're covering. We'll start with the big money problem miners face, then we'll look at some clever financing tricks before jumping into the main event, tokenization. We'll see how it works, who's using it, what to watch out for, and then wrap up with what this could mean for the future. Let's get into it.
So, the miner's dilemma. You know how it is. As a geologist, you do all the hard work. You make the discovery, and that's fantastic. But that's just the start. The real mountain to climb is getting the money to actually build the mine. It's a huge capital hurdle, and it's been the story of our industry forever.
Yeah, a picture like this, it's a familiar sight for anyone who's spent time in the field. It's the proof. All that geological work paying off. You've proven the resources there. But then comes the big question mark, right? Now what? How do you pay for the mine? And that question, it's a tough one, especially for the smaller guys when the markets are tight. Okay, so before we dive into all the new digital stuff, we need to rewind a little. It's super important to look at the clever financial tools that already changed the game. You know, the need for capital has always pushed this industry to be creative, long before anyone had even heard of blockchain.
So you've basically got two main paths to get that cash. On one hand, you have traditional equity. You sell shares, you raise money. But you give up a chunk of your company. It dilutes your ownership. Then, this other path emerged, royalty and streaming. This was huge. You get cash up front, but instead of selling ownership, you sell a small slice of your future production. It's non-dilutive, which was a total game changer. And what this did was create a fantastic win-win situation. The miners, they get the capital they need to build without watering down their shares. And the royalty companies, they get to invest in, say, gold, without having to deal with the headaches and costs of actually running a mine. It's this flexible, risk-sharing idea that really paved the way for what came next.
So, building on that idea, we get to the next big leap. What if you could take those financial agreements and turn them into digital assets that anyone can trade? This is where we get to tokenization, and believe me, this is where things get really interesting.
So what is mining asset tokenization? The easiest way to think about it is like this. You're creating a digital deed, or a digital title, for a tiny piece of a mineral reserve. Each token is a secure, verifiable slice of ownership that lives on a blockchain. And the best part? It can be bought and sold anywhere in the world, 24/7.
Now, this is what's so powerful about it. It solves two huge, long-standing problems. First, it unlocks liquidity. I mean, think about it. You've got this valuable resource just sitting in the ground. Tokenization lets you turn that value into cash right now without having to sell the whole project. And second, it opens up the investor base. It's not just for big banks anymore. Anyone, and I mean anyone, can buy a small piece, which really democratizes the whole thing.
So what does this mean for us, the people on the ground? It's huge. It gives you a way to hedge against volatility. By selling some tokens up front, miners can lock in revenue, making them way less vulnerable to those crazy swings in commodity prices. This means you can plan for the long term, build out your operations, and not have to panic every time the market has a bad day.
And there's more. We're talking about stabilizing your revenue by pre-selling these tokens. But the tech also makes things way more efficient. You can use something called smart contracts to automate all the boring stuff. Payments, record keeping, you name it. Everything is transparent and on the record, which makes compliance and audits so much simpler.
So, what's the engine driving all this? For a lot of these projects, it's the Ethereum blockchain. I mean, just look at the revenue it's generated. Over $1.8 billion. That number tells you something. It tells you that this is a robust, reliable, and trusted platform, which is exactly what you need when you're tokenizing real-world high-value assets like a mineral deposit.
You know, if you find this whole intersection of geology, tech, and finance as fascinating as I do, I'd love for you to check out my YouTube channel. We go way deeper on topics just like this. Just head over to youtube.com/@Valls_geoconsultant. We'd love to have you there.
Okay, so this isn't just some futuristic idea. It's happening right now in the real world. Let's take a look at a few examples of companies that are actually doing this.
Take a look at this quote from Ryan Cunningham, the CEO of Cunningham Mining. He says, Through the tokenization of minerals and metals, Cunningham Mining is paving the way for a more inclusive and accessible mining sector. And they're not just talking about it, they're doing it with a gold property up in BC's legendary Golden Triangle.
And this, right here, this is what it's all about. On one side you see the real thing, the rugged terrain of the Nugget Trap property. On the other, the actual placer gold they've pulled out of the ground. Tokenization creates a direct digital link between that physical gold and a tradable asset. It's a bridge, literally, from the dirt to the digital world.
Now check this out, because it gets even wilder. A company called Nat Gold has a process they call mining without the mine. The idea is revolutionary. First, they get their gold deposits verified to a global standard, like an NI 4310 report. Then they tokenize the mining titles themselves. This lets them unlock the capital from those underground assets without ever having to dig a hole. Just think about the implications of that for a second.
Okay, but it's not all sunshine and roses. Like any new frontier, this world has its dangers. This isn't some magic bullet, and you absolutely have to be aware of the risks and the rules of the road, which, by the way, are still being written.
Now, for us as geologists and scientists, due diligence is just part of our DNA, right? So you have to keep an eye out for the classic red flags. Promises of guaranteed returns, that's a big one. High-pressure sales tactics. Super vague locations like somewhere in the lithium triangle. And most importantly, if there's no clear legal paperwork connecting that token to the actual asset, run.
And then there's security. It's not just about guarding the physical asset anymore. You have to guard the digital one too. And what's really fascinating here is that the biggest threat, almost 40% of breaches, isn't some crazy complex hack. It's social engineering. It's people being tricked. It just goes to show you that technology is only as secure as the people using it.
The rulebook for all this is definitely a work in progress. Regulators are scrambling to figure it out. In the US, they're kind of applying old securities laws and seeing what sticks. Canada is issuing guidance, and the European Union is actually building a whole new framework from scratch. So yeah, it's a pretty complex and constantly changing legal picture.
So, when you put it all together, what does it mean? We are literally watching a fundamental shift in our industry. It's changing how we think about assets, how we fund projects, how we define value itself.
Which leaves us with a really profound question, one that could change everything. What is a mineral deposit actually worth if you never have to dig it up? Think about that. If you can trade the value of a verified resource without ever moving a single rock, what does that do to the economics of our entire field?
This really is just the beginning of a huge transformation for all of us. It's this incredible blend of geology, finance, and technology, and we're only just scratching the surface. If you want to keep exploring these ideas, please come find me on my YouTube channel. And thanks for watching News About Geology.